Welcome, Erev Tov. Before we prepare to count tonight, I do want to clear up a little bit of housekeeping for anyone who may have been following this each night. I put something in the comments, but I just want to make a public apology that in my counting yesterday, I did count 18 days, but I put it as 2 weeks and 6 days. It's the math impaired part of me that somehow conceptually want to make 2 weeks 12 days. So I made it 6 days. At least I did it in both Hebrew and English. But I did correct it in the comments that yesterday was 18 days, which was 2 weeks and 4 days of the Omer. And now we will take some breaths. Grounding ourselves in this present moment, whatever that brings. For that's what we're asked to do. We prepare ourselves to mark this day on our journey from Pesach to Shavuot, from the first grains to the first fruits, from the narrow place that we liberated ourselves from to the great expanse of receiving the most amazing teachings that we can in that wide wilderness. And so we bless. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, al sefirat haomer. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign spirit of the universe, who brings us holiness with the mitzvot and connects to us with the counting of the Omer. Hayom, Tisha Asar Yom, Shehem Shnei Shavuot, V'chamisha Yamim Ba'omer. Today is 19 days of the Omer, which is 2 weeks and 5 days, Hod Shebetiferet, a day of humility in a week of compassion. Min hametzar karatia. Min hametzar karatia. Nani v'merchavia. Min hametzar karatia. Min hametzar karatia. Anani v'merchavia. From the narrow place, I called to you. You answered me from the wide expanse. I will say that at this point in the week and in the count, I'm very glad to have that beautiful tune written, given to us by Aviva Chernik to carry me through this week. For this day, on this day of humility, I'm hearkening back to the first week when I talked about humility. And I mentioned then that in years past, I think I'd always seen humility as opposed to arrogance. That we needed to make sure to guard, that humility was almost like that guard against arrogance. But this year, I'm seeing humility more as in the sense of being humbled for what's going on around us. Whatever city we're in, whatever country we're in, we've spent some time sheltered in place. And when we get to go more fully out into the world, we know that it will not be the world we left. And it's in those moments that I am really glad to have the Psalms, to have this built-in poetry that's part of my ancient tradition. And it's in these moments that I understand those Psalms much better. For Psalms were this calling out to God, to the transcendent spirit, to the universe, however you need to see that. But they are so many of them, along with words of shouts of joy. There are also shouts of sorrow and shouts of despair and shouts of distress. Hamed Sar, the narrow place, that place of distress. And I will say, as a practice, it can be really comforting to have a tune in your head. Not something that's pop or rap or even classical, whatever music, something outside your realm. That the tune itself doesn't need words. Hence the practice in Judaism of singing nigunim, singing wordless tunes. But as I was entering into my practice, and I was starting on this road 20 years ago, I know that I found pieces of liturgy coupled with tunes could really carry me through rough feelings, rough times. And this is what I'm hearing this week, because I'm feeling that narrow place that's feeling very humbling right now. But this week, that humility is wrapped in compassion. So while 2 weeks ago, when I first mentioned this, and it was wrapped in loving kindness. So it was feeling comfort. It was feeling not a support, but kind of something like a blanket, like a hug. As I was feeling just overwhelmed, loving kindness was just giving me it's a hug. It's okay. Last week I saw humility through my friends who survived the darkest times that one can have, far darker than what we're going through right now. And they made it through with compassion for others, to keep spreading their stories and their knowledge so that this doesn't happen again to anyone. And this week, as I drop humility into that container of compassion, enveloped by it, I feel a bit of that loving kindness, that there is that hug. But as I talked about earlier in this week, compassion has a stream, compassion has a focus, compassion has a direction. And so what the compassion is letting me know that it's okay to feel humbled and feel overwhelmed and feel the humility of being so small in this immense event we're going through. And the compassion wrapper reminds me that it's okay to feel it. But hold on to that feeling and know, just like I taught yesterday of Brian Stevenson teaching from that broken place, the humility will always be a part of that. It will always be there. It's good not to always know everything, to not always feel totally in control. And when you're feeling more out of control, there will be support with you, whether it's loving kindness or strength or compassion. But the compassion reminds me that while I need to have that compassion for myself, I also need to remember this overwhelmingness, this almost incomprehensible inability to understand in some ways what's happening. The compassion says, yeah, it's okay to feel that, but know that part of feeling that is to be able to understand when others are going through it, and that you can come through it and work to keep moving forward. Because the theme, just like this psalm that I've been singing, is the theme of this week. The theme of this entire count, these 49 days we go through, that we haven't even reached the halfway point yet. But we know that we will continue to move forward and find that new expanse. Min ha-metzar karatia. Min ha-metzar karatia. Anani vamer chavia. I wish us all that compassion as we are feeling so humbled in the world. And I will see you tomorrow.